Good morning! Varlamore Part 3 has released today, and look at the really cool login screen. Your achievement diary cape has lost its trim as you have not completed all quests. It looks like there's 3 new quests, there's 13 new music tracks, and before this update there was 1594 collection log slots, now there's 1608, so 14 new collection log slots. And at the bottom of the list there is a new mini quest. But yes, hello, welcome to my OSRS game update series where I go over the OSRS game updates and check out some of the things in game. And today, as you probably already know, is a very big game update, Varlamore Part 3. A major game expansion, and the world map has also been expanded. I was going to show you the official world map because it would look cleaner on here, but they haven't updated it yet, so it is still blacked out. But it's kind of a good thing because now you can see exactly where all the new stuff was added. For a second I was like, oh cool, at least it's updated on the wiki, but it's not blacked out. It's just empty and inaccessible here. We're going to look full screen in-game instead. Here's what we have. Varlamore is now completed, or at least the map is completed. With part 1 and 2, we had this, as well as Alderan. And with part 3, Varlamore has now been connected to Kurend by this middle area. And this has been added. This whole area is what's new. As I was running around, I've already unlocked a new music track, but not from the new area. I guess they added some new music tracks to older areas. Before I get into reading the news post, I want to get to Varlamore Part 3 and just bank stand there while I'm reading stuff. And I'm trying to figure out ways to get there, and I found a few ways. There's Fairy Ring Code AIS that's close to Vale. There's a teleport with the Pendant of 8s. There's a Quetzal teleport. There's another one down here as well. Another Quetzal. Oh, and a third one over here. I'm sure there's a few other ways as well, but if nothing else, you could always take the guide from the Quetzalcoatl Gorge, which is over here. It looks like there's 2 new default teleports, but this one to Custodia is locked. I want to go to Vale though. I don't know why, like that city just sounds really cool. And there's 2 more new music tracks I've unlocked. When I first heard the name Vale, I just imagined a bunch of maple trees, and sure enough, there are a bunch of maple trees. Okay, I'm gonna get to... Oh, this is an interesting bank. It's kind of an outdoors bank. Varlamore was released in 3 parts. The first part was March 20th, 2024. The second part was September 25th, 2024. And now today, July 23rd, 2025, the third and final part of Varlamore has been released, The Final Dawn. And that brings us to today's news post. Varlamore, The Final Dawn out now. As usual, there's the list of issues to be hot fixed or cold fixed. We have the changelog, which summarizes everything, but rather than going through a summary, I'll be going through the full length of the news post, so we can really dive deep into everything. So let's start right here. The Final Dawn is a master tier quest that marks the conclusion to the Varlamore storyline. Here's the requirements for the quest. They recommend 85 combat, and as a reward for completing the quest, you'll unlock the new Delve boss, new Nagua to fight, and there's a new untradeable melee weapon. This new weapon is called the Arcan Blade. Stat-wise, it is comparable to the Dragon Scimitar, requires 60 attack, but it has a very cool special attack. It costs 30%, so you could use it 3 times in a row. The spec has 50% higher accuracy, 50% higher damage, and it has a burn effect that deals 10 damage over 24 seconds, which does stack. It sounds like you get it for free from completing the quest, but if you lose it, you can buy it back for 75k GP, or if you get PK'd and lose it, then the PKer gets 75k GP because it's untradeable. In the Final Dawn expansion, there's also the Vale Fletching activity, the Custodia Pass Slayer Dungeon, the Gemstone Crab, and the Doom of Mokhaiotl. For some reason, I could not find any mentions at all of the other 2 new quests. So if you're curious, there's 2 other new quests. This one is called Scrambled. Here's the requirements for it. The items required, recommended. They've already got a quick guide up on the wiki, and if we go to the bottom, spoiler by the way, here's the rewards for the quest. And then the other new quest is called Shadows of Custodia. Again, here's the requirements for it. Some recommended stats. They have a quick guide already up on the wiki, and then here is what you get as a reward from the quest. Next we have the Delve boss. After you've completed the final dawn, you are able to take on the Delve boss, which is the Doom of Mokhaiotl. This is like the new high-level PVM content that's been added. It's OSRS's first ever Enraged-style solo endgame PVM challenge, which I think basically means there's no end to the fight until you either die or choose to end it. Each time you defeat the boss, it doesn't actually die, but it digs deeper, and you could choose to follow it up through 8 escalating difficulty tiers. At the end of each floor, you'll have the choice to either leave with the loot that you've earned, or you can follow into the next delve level. There's no saving your progress, so if you leave or die, you have to start back from floor 1. If you leave, you can keep your loot. If you die, you lose all of your loot. In terms of difficulty level, the early floors are similar to about the level of doing CG. However, if you want to reach the very bottom, you're gonna have to know about Inferno style mechanics. They do have a nice mechanic for learners though, where there's a 75% reduced death cost on any floor where your personal best is under 20 attempts floor by floor. That is very weird wording, but just know while you're learning, for a little while at least, you'll have a 75% reduced death cost. The high scores will track your deepest completions, and any run past wave 8 or beyond will count towards the rankings. That is going to be very interesting as time goes on to see how far people actually make it in the Doom, and as people figure out new mechanics, and maybe as power creep comes into the game, there's better gear and weapons that come out over time. Let's take a look at where the high scores are at right now though. Doom of Mokhaiotl. That's it. Only No Monkey is on there at the moment. Now we'll get into the rewards from the delve. First thing is the Eye of Ayek. The Tumican Shadow is an insanely overpowered staff, and the next best staff is way worse, the Sang staff. So they've added this as a new staff to bridge the gap between Shadow and Sang. This has a 3-tick attack speed, and you cannot use it in PvP. Here's the stats of it, and just like the Sang and the Shadow, this is a powered staff. You charge it up with 2 death runes and 1 chaos rune per cast, or you can charge it up with 1 demon tier, but it can only be charged with one or the other at a time. It can only be runes or demon tiers, not both. But when you uncharge it, you will get back everything that you put in. You don't lose all the charges if you want to take everything out, because I assume it's going to be untradeable when it does have charges, but tradable without charges in it. It says it will charge a small amount passively if charged with demon tiers while you're defeating Asto Ayak, which is the delve boss. But how do you get these demon tiers? What are those? There's not much info about these right now. There's an error for the GE value, but you get these as drops from the Doom boss. But there's another way to get them too. Similar to fishing Zora scales, you can harvest these from the nearby infected root, which requires level 80 woodcutting. This is the whole wiki page for the infected root. It says 80 woodcutting requirement. You get 1 demon tier per successful chop. You get about 640 demon tiers per hour with 99 woodcutting. You get 10 XP for each demon tier gained. 35 XP is given when a log is collected. The wiki page is still pretty bare bones for this, but I was thinking about, because it's a 3-tick weapon, how many charges do you use per hour? With a 4-tick weapon, you would use 1500 charges per hour, but because it's 3 ticks, that means that you'd be using 2000 charges per hour, assuming it's in constant use. That would be 4000 death runes and 2000 chaos runes, or a bit over 700k GP per hour cost. Then it has a special attack. Here's what it looks like, and what the special attack does is it reduces the target's magic defense by the damage dealt. And the first thing that comes to mind for a useful spot to use this would be for the Whisperer fight. I'm sure there's plenty more places, but Whisperer came to mind immediately. The special attack has double accuracy, 30% higher max hit. It won't reduce defense below 0. It uses up 50% special attack energy, and the use case is for sustained encounters with magically tanky foes. The next reward is the Avernic Treads, which are the new Tribrid boots. Most people, when they do raids and other high-level PVM activity, or just like any PVM activity, you don't really ever bring a boot switch. Usually for any hybrid or tribrid content in the game, you would always just camp the primordial boots. However, these new boots are just straight up better than even if you were to bring all 3 of these boot switches somewhere. You can upgrade the base Avernic Treads by adding in Prims, Pegasians, and Eternals, and they'll add strength bonus for each of those combat styles. But each one that you want to upgrade and add in will cost 4000 demon tiers. Here's the maxed out stats, and they have a few other things to mention about it, which is that each upgraded variant is untradeable, but you can revert it back to the base it sounds like you'll get the boots back, but you won't get the tears back. You need 80 strength, defense, range, and mage to wear them, and then 80 smithing, which is boostable to craft them. I want to look at the stats of the maxed out treads and compare them side by side to the boots, and we'll go down the list one by one. So for the attack, it's 3 accuracy for melees, whereas prims are 2 accuracy for the melees. Next is the magic accuracy is plus 11, whereas Eternals are only plus 8 mage accuracy. Range accuracy is plus 15, whereas Pegasians are plus 12 range accuracy. So straight up, the accuracy is better on the maxed out Avernic treads. Defense is 21, 25, 25, whereas Prims are 22, 22, 22. So the stab accuracy is technically plus 1 better on here. Magic defense plus 10, range defense plus 10, whereas this is plus 8 mage defense, plus 5 range defense. So defense for the most part is pretty much better. But the most important part are the strength bonuses. You got plus 6 melee strength, which is already best in slot because prims are only plus 5 melee strength. You have 3 range strength, which Pegasians don't even give a range strength bonus. That's pretty crazy just by itself. And then you have 2% magic damage, whereas Eternals are 1% magic damage. Then there's the Confliction Gauntlets. These are the new best in slot mage glove item in the game. It's an upgrade to the Tormented Bracelet, and to make them you need the Tormented Bracelet, the Mokhaiotl cloth, which is dropped by the Doom, and 10,000 demon tears. You need 83 crafting and 70 smithing to make them, which are boostable, and it has to be done at a bank. For the stats, it is plus 20 magic accuracy, although negative 4 range accuracy, so you wouldn't want to hybrid with them, compared to plus 10 magic accuracy. And then for the defense, the Tormented Bracelet does not have any defense bonuses, whereas these have quite a lot of defense bonuses. It also has 7% magic damage and 2 prayer bonus, whereas Tormented Bracelet is only 5% magic damage and 2 prayer bonus. The stats alone make it really good, but on top of the stats, it has a passive effect where when you have them equipped, if your standard spell of any spellbook or charged staff fails to hit, your next cast of the same spell on the same target will roll accuracy twice. A few things to note, it only works with one-handed or no weapon, so it does not work with the shadow. There is no cooldown and no charges. Yeah, same spell, same target, and then it works in both PVM and PvP. So if you splash a freeze, you could try again, and you're going to have more accuracy if you have the Confliction Gauntlets equipped. Wait, did it say it on here, the requirement to equip them? Because for the Tormented Bracelet, you need 75 hit points. It doesn't say it except for this little tiny thing, so if you may have missed it if you weren't looking at that, but I think that means it's a 90 hit points requirement to equip them. Then they just talk about the demon tears here that you can get them from the infested roots. And cool, that is it for all the rewards from the Doom boss. Now, this is probably the thing I've most been looking forward to. My area of expertise, the skilling side of OSRS, is the Auburn Vale Fletching activity, which is where I've been bank standing this whole time and seeing people in-game getting drops while I've been standing around making a video. I've been feeling like Squidward watching SpongeBob and Patrick outside having fun while I'm stuck here making this video and I can't try out the Fletching minigame yet. So, the new Fletching activity, or some people call it Fletching Toad, similar to Winter Toad or Temperos that people call Fishing Toad, we now have Fletching Toad. This activity is basically running around Auburn Vale creating totems, and you need at least 20 fletching for the lowest tier, which is oak. The highest tier is redwood, if you have 90 plus fletching. In order to do this activity, you do have to have completed the new mini quest Vale Totems, which also has a requirement of 20 fletching because, well, you need at least 20 to make the oak totem things. When you scroll down, they start talking about the rewards from the minigame. The first thing is the Fletching Knife. And this knife is very special because it speeds up your fletching actions by 1 game tick. However, it only starts after the first item in a batch to prevent tick manipulation, because if it started working immediately with the first item, I'm sure some people would probably end up coming up with some method similar to how this is for cooking. So you'll be able to do your fletching with a knife, your cutting actions 1 tick faster for all of these different activities, which includes the Vale Totems, which is the fletching activity itself, and very interestingly, the Bruma Roots in Winter Toad, you'll be able to fletch those 1 tick faster. On top of all that, it still works as a regular knife, so you can use it for slashing webs, cutting fruit, and so on. It is untradeable, so you'll have to earn it yourself, and it's also equipable. It is equipped in the offhand slot. I wonder if you probably can't fletch if you have it equipped, right? The next item is the bowstring spool. It can store between 250 and 100,000 bowstrings in one slot. In the past, stringing bows has always been a 14-14 type of action where you have half an inventory of each. Well, now it's going to be a 1 and 27 type of action, so it's pretty much doubling the AFK time. The spool starts with a base capacity of 250 bowstrings, but the more spools you add, the higher the capacity gets. Up to 6 spools will get you the capacity of 100,000, which is a weird flax. But okay, good one, Jagex. You want to see a weird flax? I'll show you a weird flax, which is my stack of not even 100,000 bowstring. I could almost fully fill up the 6 spool. It says it automatically fills itself as you spin flax. I'm really curious, if you do the spin flax spell, will that also count, and will that automatically fill it up as well? I'm really curious about that, and if so, that'd be really, really nice if it works that way. Or you can manually fill it with bowstrings. So you could use noted bowstrings on it by right-clicking near a bank. And also you could withdraw bowstrings as unnoted or noted if you're near a bank. But as for training fletching, all you do is use your unstrung bows or use the spool on each other, and it will open up the regular fletching interface. The spool is also untradeable, so you'll have to earn it yourself. And for death mechanics, the storage capacity you unlocked remains tied to your account. So regardless of if you die and lose it in the wildy, once you reacquire a bowstring spool, your storage unlocks will immediately reflect all your previous progress. Okay, after that we have a couple of POH decorations. There is the Greenman statue, which you put in the garden or the formal garden. And we have the Greenman carving. You build this in wall decoration spots in the combat room, dining room, and throne room. These have level 1 construction requirement and will give you no XP when you build them. I want to try out the minigame real quick, and you do have to do the Vale totems mini quest where I think he's supposed to like teach you how to do this activity. And like I showed before, the fastest way to get here is probably with the Quetzal teleport. You're going to run west to the minigame icon and talk to Ranulf to start the Vale totems mini quest. Yes. Claim 100 offerings. Okay, that's it. It is green. Yeah, the mini quest just has you build this one totem, and that's basically what the whole mini game activity is, running around building totems. He gives you this book when you complete the mini quest, and it has some info, like it tells you how many totems you built and other useful statistics that you may want to know about. And I guess the rest of this is just lore stuff, but yeah, the first page has stats on it, my notes versus Randolph's notes. I'm going to do a quick run through of this activity and do a round and then figure it out for myself and show you how it goes. But I do want to say, or show you first, if you do have the forestry basket or the log basket, you can fill it up with your logs, and then you can swap the left click to be empty basket. So that way you can just left click to have the logs go into your inventory. I've already done one loop or one run through of the minigame, and it is very simple, very self-explanatory to figure out once you've done it once. But just to like show you how it goes, there's a loop of 8 totems around Auburn that you go between, and at the moment the wiki does not have a picture of like an optimal route or any picture of like the loop that you do. So instead, I saw that Lone Gem Rat uploaded a video on the new Fletching minigame, and he made a route, or he made a picture. So if you want to check this out, that's how the loop goes. You're going to have your knife and your logs in your inventory, and starting from, I'm going to start from this totem. I don't know if it really matters which one you start from, but I've actually highlighted all of them or marked the object because when I'm running around, I'm zoomed out, it makes it easier to see them. So here's how you do it. You click on the totem site to build it. You get construction and fletching XP, and there's always going to be 3 animals. These animals are different for every player. It's instanced for just you. So we have a jaguar, there's a buffalo, and there's an eagle. So you select the 3 correct animals, a thing will appear above. From there, you decorate. It's going to use up 4 of whatever you've created. So it's going to be unstrung bows, or if you're using redwood logs, you're going to want to make these redwood hiking staves. You click on it, it'll use them up 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's done. And you claim your offering and move on to the next one. While you're running to the next one, well, we have the bank over here, so after you finish that totem specifically, you could stop at the bank, grab some more redwood logs, fill up your log basket, and start running to the next totem. And while you're running there, ideally you'd want to be fletching your unstrung bows or your staves, whatever you're making. Again, it's going to be build the totem site, choose the 3 animals. We got scorpion, snake, and jaguar. Make sure I have 4 of the item. I can left click, it's going to automatically use up the 4 of the items, and then it is done. And Ent will be very happy with you and give you some more offerings. I don't think you really have to claim them right away. I don't know what the cap is, if there's like a limit to the amount of offerings can be placed there before you're required to claim them, but the Ent does take a little bit of time to get there, so you don't have to claim what the Ent is putting on there right away. And again, I'm going to be running over to the next one, start fletching, so on and so forth. And there are a few shortcuts, agility shortcuts, like the one I just used, that's a 45 requirement, another 45 agility requirement shortcut. Yeah, I think it's just those 2 shortcuts that are nice to have for this minigame. This item, the Redwood Hiking Staff, it just came out today, and according to the wiki, it says that it gives you decreased stamina loss when equipped. So that's very interesting if that's actually true. You can equip that, so maybe that could be useful. Maybe it acts as like the passive effect of the Ring of Endurance. It's also very nice they added these Redwood Staves for doing the minigame itself because of the fact that there's no unstrung bows for redwood logs. So if these didn't exist, you would have to make the redwood shield instead, which takes like twice as long to make compared to just fletching 1 log at a time, which the redwood staves are only 1 log. You can see it's way faster, or yeah, half the length of time to create these staves. And you'll notice regardless of if you use the redwood hiking staff or the redwood shield, it's the same amount of XP. So 726, 725, 720. So it's the same amount of XP, but you have to use 2 logs and double the amount of time to make the shield. So it's not worth making those for the minigame. Well, that's what it seems like, at least. Maybe there's some like hidden mechanic we don't know about, but at first glance, that's what it appears to be for now. With these Vale offerings, you can rummage through them to get access to the drop table, which you can see right here on the wiki. Of course, it is going to be incomplete since it's only been like 7 or 8 hours since release or something, but there's seeds, nests, including egg nests, roots, and some other things, including the uniques. Wait, what is this item? Bale of Flax. Gives 25 unnoted flax. Interesting. And you get possibly 5 to 6 of those when you roll that. Chance for a beginner clue as well. Yeah, like I said, this is probably very incomplete. Maybe you can get multiple types of clues. We'll find out eventually though, I'm sure. But with these offerings, you need 100 of them to search through, or hasty rummage. I assume it's like searching multiple at a time, or maybe it goes faster or something. But besides for that, you also, for every 100 you search through, you get 1 point, 1 Vale research point for every 100. And we have this sort of dry protection mechanic because you can buy these collection log items. The bowstring spool is 250, fletching knife is 350, green mask is 500, and branch is 20. So if you get really unlucky with the rummages that you do through there, you can buy them straight up from the shop. And those are the 4 items that you need for the collection log. Do you have to beat a bank, or can you just do it right here anywhere? Yeah, you can. Oh, I got the end branch. A collection log slot. Dirty arrow tips, clean those. Oh, ooh, dragon arrow tips. I'm not going to open any more of these though, because I do want to save them for my progress videos. Looks like my character opened up 3 of them, and with 3 of them, I have 3 research points. And eventually, once you unlock your 6 spools and the other 2 collection log items, you're just gonna have a bunch of extra research points that you could then spend on these end branches. And the use case for these end branches is you can make atlatl darts, or atlatl dart shafts. As you're going through the minigame though, ideally you would want to keep on opening the offerings as you get them, or as you're able to, so that you can get the fletching knife, since that will possibly help with the minigame. Maybe it doesn't matter that much if you're fletching while you're running in between them anyways, but I'd at least open these until you get the fletching knife before you start stacking them up. I'd also say that maybe it'd be worth waiting to do this minigame, or wait to like really grind out this minigame until there's a RuneLite plugin for it, which with Mixology, I remember the RuneLite plugin came really fast. I think it was within a couple days. But I assume when there is a RuneLite plugin that comes out for the fletching minigame, that it's gonna, for example, show you the path to get to the next totem, or the fastest path, so you don't have to keep on looking at the map or like a reference picture of where to go. For now, you can maybe use tile markers to guide you in the right direction. And then another thing that I would expect that plugin to do is make it so you don't have to look at the animals. Instead, maybe it'll highlight the hotkeys for you to click, or it'll like tell you the numbers, like press 1, 3, 4, for example, for whatever spirit animals there are. Are these end branches tradable, or yes, they are. Awesome, back to the update post, and now that I've actually done the activity, this stuff makes a little bit more sense. That's why I wanted to try it out first, and it should make a bit more sense for you as well as we finish up with the fletching part on here. They talk about how you can rummage through the offerings to get loot, including uniques, And then for every 100 that you search through, you'll get the 1 research point that is part of the dry protection mechanic you can use to buy these items. And after you buy them, you can then use them to just buy a bunch of Ent branches. And they say that you can turn unwanted untradables or any item, if you're an Iron Man, you can convert them into research points. Does that mean that you could sell Ent branches to the shop? But it also says Iron Man only, so would Group Iron Man even count for that? No shop offer. Okay, I guess Group Iron Man are not included. That makes sense, because otherwise you could just have your teammates feed you all the items without actually doing the minigame. Then they talk about the Atlatl darts. Before this update, the only way you were able to get these was just through doing the Moons of Peril minigame, or boss, whatever you want to call it. But now you can fletch them, which is really nice for Iron Man especially, because main accounts you could just buy them off the GE, but for Iron Man you have to actually do Moons of Peril. And once you finish the collection log for Moons of Peril, it feels like a waste to go back, especially if you were just going there to get the Atlatl darts. So now, thankfully, you can fletch them yourself with level 74 fletching. It is a new 4-step process. So first step is the Atlatl dart shafts. You get them by using a knife on the Ent branches, which gives you 100 shafts per branch. You get 30 fletching XP. Next, you're going to need dart tips, which you get by using a chisel on broken antlers, which are dropped by custodians, a new monster which we'll get into later in the news post. You get 100 tips per antler and 10 XP from that action. Next step is you add the feathers to the shafts, which gives you 1 XP per dart, requires 74 fletching, and then finally you attach the tips to the headless darts. It gives 9.5 XP per dart, again 74 fletching, and both the Ent branches and broken antlers are tradable. The Greenman mask is a cosmetic mask that you can customize by offering 300 leaves of a specific type to recolor it. The base mask is tradable, the transmogged versions are not. And once you unlock one of these different versions, it's like a permanent unlock. You can then swap freely between. So there's a new thing for completionists out there, getting all the unlocks for the Greenman mask. And then we have the Redwood hiking staff, which I already talked about and showed how there might be like a slower draining run mechanic. It's not mentioned on here, so people somehow are guessing or figure that out already. Well, I've come back to the wiki now to check, and it does not mention the run drain thing anymore. So either someone was trolling or I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. 1 redwood log and 90 fletching to make it. It is tradable and equipable as a weak crush weapon. And yeah, you could use it for the fletching minigame. You can use it as a decoration on redwood totems. Oh yeah, and the redwood shields require 92 fletching, so you're able to use this at a lower level anyways. You only need 90 fletching. And finally, they talk about the XP rates, what you can expect. So you could see for whatever type of log that you're going to be using, up to redwood, it's expected to be 300 to 350k fletching XP per hour. With the addition of the fletching minigame, especially being 300k plus fletching XP per hour, and all these new items being added that help speed up fletching, isn't that going to be game-changing and switch up the whole fletching meta? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's dive more into that. When you talk about the meta is referred to the most efficient method that you can do, realistically, of course, because no one's going to be spending trillions of GP, for example, to make demonic thrones to train construction. For normal accounts, fletching is considered a zero-time skill because you can buy dart tips and feathers off the GE and fletch them while you're doing almost any other activity in the game. So you don't have to dedicate time specifically for training fletching on the main account. So for main accounts or normal accounts, the meta has not been changed with this minigame. Iron Men are a different story because Iron Men typically make broad arrows to 99 fletching, or if they go to 200 mil fletching, then broad arrows are what they would typically make. And making broad arrows is 0 time because you do it with other skills, with the focus not being mainly on the fletching. However, it takes time to buy the feathers and fletch the arrow shafts because Iron Man can't just buy them off the GE, and because of that, fletching is effectively about 1.5 mil XP an hour for irons. Meanwhile, the minigame goes up to 350k XP per hour, which means doing the minigame itself is not meta for Iron Man either. But because the Iron Man meta is based off of the time to buy feathers and the time to fletch the arrow shafts, well, fletching arrow shafts just became a tick faster, so the Iron Man fletching rate has been sped up because of the fletching knife you get from this minigame. Obviously, most players don't care about the metas, and you should always do the methods that you enjoy and that fit your playstyle, because being efficient and burning out is less efficient than playing inefficiently. I just wanted to share a different perspective because, well, that's why you're watching the video, right? Because you want to know about the things that you may not have known about, and most players probably don't know that, and I could use my very highly specialized RuneScape nerd knowledge to uplift all of you collectively with more RuneScape knowledge. Some final thoughts before we wrap up the fletching minigame section of this video. I just want to talk about when you're fletching unstrung bows now, it goes from a 3-tick action to a 2-tick action, which, if my math is right, that means it's 50% more XP per hour. So for example, fletching maple longbows was previously 104k XP per hour. Now it should be, actually this is perfect because stringing is a 2-tick action that gives you the same amount of XP. So this column right here, the stringing column, should be about what you would now expect from using the fletching knife compared to doing it prior without the knife. The reason I bring up maple longbows specifically is because you can get maple logs from Kingdom, and Ironmen might prefer to put a little bit more focus on the maple logs now because of this update, making it faster to cut the bows and a lot easier to string them as well. And one final thing I want to mention is that I wish there was an altar in Auburn Vale. If I open this up and I click on altar, there's no altars that are being highlighted in this area. And the reason I say that is because it'd be a cool use case for the Vile Vigor spell, which requires 66 magic and Kingdom Divided on the Arceus spellbook. It converts your prayer points into run energy. And I know they just had all the run energy changes, and especially with Graceful and stuff, most people probably wouldn't need it, but maybe there's certain cases, like if you have a low agility level, or maybe you don't have Graceful or something, maybe this spell could come in handy. There's a few niche use cases for the spell around the game. I think this could have potentially added another very niche use case for certain players using the Vile Vigor spell. I always love seeing new use cases being added for it, but unfortunately, it will not be used here, unless I'm missing something, but maybe there's some like prayer restoring place I'm not aware of. It's very possible. Now for real, moving on from fletching, we have the Custodia Pass Slayer Dungeon. There's a new Slayer Dungeon in the game. It has the following requirements, and these requirements are the exact same requirements as this quest, Shadows of Custodia. Although it doesn't say that you need Shadows of Custodia complete, it just says you need Children of the Sun quest done. Inside the dungeon is a new type of monster called Custodian Stalkers, with 3 variants: Juvenile, Mature, and Elder. And I think that's the Slayer requirement for each of the 3 different types. And there's a new item called the Antler Guard that they drop, which is an offhand weapon, so shield slot that prioritizes offensive and prayer bonuses over defense. So it's kind of like a stepping stone to the Dragon Defender. It gives +5 prayer bonus, and it has accuracy for all combat styles, including mage and range. And then, oh, wait a sec, this is really interesting. So +5 melee strength, but also +2 range strength bonus. Just for reference, with the Dragon Defender, for the accuracy, it does give 25, 24, 23, but then negatives for the other 2. And then the strength bonus of Dragon Defender is +6. Compared to this +5. And I assume that's the requirement, 50 prayer. The Antler Guard is tradable. There's some crazy negative defense bonuses though, so you really want to be either using prayer, or if you're ranging with that nice +2 range strength bonus, you ideally want to be safe spotting. It says, while tackling the stalkers, you may occasionally come across another new item called the Alchemist's Signet, which aren't immediately useful, but those with an eye for experimentation may find a way to redeem them elsewhere in Varlamore. And we already have the answer on the wiki, the Alchemist's Signet. It's used to open a chest that gives you various herbal supplies, and the chest is by the Mastering Mixology minigame, right next to the staircase when you go downstairs. And they already have like an estimated drop rate, 1 out of 60. Just to see where it's actually at in game, I've come to Alderin next to Mastering Mixology, and there is the chest. I was also looking at the collection logs. I was curious which items were added to the Slayer collection log, and there's 4 new items. A couple of these, or one of these we haven't gone over yet, but the Signet is on the collection log. Like I said at the start though, there were 14 new log slots added today with the update. We have these 4 in the Slayer collection log. There's the Vale totems, another 4, so that's 8. And then there's 6 more that come from the Doom boss. So 4, 4, and 6 is 14 total. I'm running over to Custodia Pass now. I was trying to figure out if there's a fast way to get there. I don't know. I don't think there's any kind of teleport or any, maybe after the quest possibly, but here's the Stalker Den. Looks like there's a couple of entrances. Custodia Pass is what separates Varlamore from Kourend, and it looks like you actually can't even run to Kourend. You have to, oh, new music track. You have to take this boat, it looks like. Okay, watch out for the wolves, and we'll head on inside. Okay, I'm not heading inside apparently. Oh, there's alpacas! They were already in the game. I think they were added with Varlamore Part 1 at Orta's farm, but now there's more of them, some wild ones in the mountains. Now, can I enter from this northern side? I still cannot. So you probably do have to do, or at least start, the Custodia quest. And then here's the boat. Can I take the boat to the north side? Cross the lake, yes. So yeah, you can't even walk between Varlamore and Corrend. You do have to take the boat that separates the north and south side. Pretty sure. Is there a way around here? We have a mine over here, and there's some yew trees very far from a bank. Anyways, next up we have a new boss, or new monster boss, kind of, the Gemstone Crab. This is very similar to rock crabs or sand crabs in the sense that it will rarely damage you, and even when it does damage you, it only deals 1 damage at a time. This is meant to be an alternative to sand crabs or rock crabs in terms of training your combat skills up AFK. Instead of having an HP bar, it doesn't have HP, rather it has a timer bar above its head that will tell you how long before you can start claiming its loot and it moves to the next spot. The way this works is that there are 3 potential spawn points for the Gemstone Crab, so I assume there's just 1 per world, which means you're gonna have to run between the 3 to find exactly which spot it's at in the Tecpatl rainforest. When the timer runs out, it will burrow away and leave behind a giant mineable gem rock, which means you want to bring a pickaxe and gem bag with you, but only the top 16 players who dealt the most damage to it will get to mine the gem rock that it leaves behind. Then it says there's a small cave nearby to crawl through the undergrowth and follow the crab to its next hiding spot. Wait, so do you have to do a bunch of running around, or does it just lead you immediately to the next spot? Let's find out. Looks like there's a couple of Quetzal teleports to the area. Let's take this one and we'll see exactly where that is on the map. I've unlocked a new music track, hooray. Okay, here's the Tecpatl rainforest, and okay, if I hover over that, you can see Gemstone Crab, and Gemstone Crab. There's hippos. I was gonna leave it till later in the video to like find the hippos and all the other animals of the area. Like there's more capybaras and dogs, but I just ran by flying squirrel. But I was just running by them right now, so I had to point them out. But I don't want to like. I want the video to be organized in different chapters or whatever. So let's find the Gemstone Crab. Here is the Gemstone Rock, and then will this cave just take me directly to it, or do you have to choose? Or is it take me? Oh my gosh, there's a lot of people here. Attack Gemstone Crab. And that's it. Now I can just sit here and AFK. Timer's already like 60% of the way through though. Yeah, this already seems like one of those places where you probably want to turn your public chat off. I've noticed anywhere in the game where there's a place that brings together like more than 10 people at a time, like Winter Toad, Temperos, Guardians of the Rift, Fishing Trawler, anywhere there's like over 10 people, that's typically when you want to turn off your public chat. Okay, the crab is burrowing. Am I able to mine it? I assume... No, I did not. I'm not part of the top 16, but looking at all the other combat levels, I think I would have a good chance of being top 16 for the next one. So is it just going to spawn here, and do we just have to wait? Oh, okay, there it is. Let's start attacking, and hopefully I make it into the top 16 this time. Otherwise, I'll be very sad, and we'll just go by the wiki stuff, because the wiki says it's like 10 minutes for the timer here. I get a Dragon Claw spec in as well. Get my damage up a little bit. While we're waiting, let's read a little bit of the wiki. Normally when you do damage in the game, you get 4 combat XP for every 1 damage that you do. But in this case with the crab, 1 damage gives you 3.5 XP, which is 87.5% of the normal amount of XP that you would get. However, it says it still offers higher XP rates than other crabs because there's no downtime in between attacks. Like if you were to kill a crab, you'd have to wait for your character to auto-retaliate against the next crab, or when your aggression runs out, you have to run away and run back. And there's no overkill damage on the Gemstone Crab. You're never going to be killing it. So because of that, it does at least claim right now that it is higher XP rates than other types of crabs. And while you could even get dragon stones from this, apparently. There's no pet or collection logs related to the Gemstone Crab. It looks like it is strictly just to AFK your combat stats at something that's not sand crabs. And you even get a little bit of gems out of it too, which we'll find out in just a bit exactly how many gems you get, hopefully, if I end up being top 16. Yeah, this has been pretty much exactly 10 minutes, which now that I think about it, that makes sense because 10 minutes is how long the NPC aggression timer is, so it makes sense they try to make this about the same amount of AFK. And do I get the gems? No? Aw, dang. I wonder if I either like have to do a quest or something to be eligible or what. I mean, it doesn't really matter that much, but you will get gems if you're part of the top 16. I really thought I would get it. What about when I talked to this guy, Rumerald? The wiki doesn't say anything about needing to talk to anyone, but wiki is also just constantly being updated right now since it just came out. Moving on from the Gemstone Crab, we have a new Nagua and the Earthbound Tecpatl. After you complete the final Dawn quest, you'll have access to the ruins of Mokhaiotl, which is where you fight the Delve boss, but there's also a new Nagua variant there. And they drop the Earthbound Tecpatl, which is a two-handed stab weapon that completes the trio of the Sulfur Blades and the Glacial Tecpatl from the other two types of Naguas. Here's the stats of it. It's the exact same as the other two. It's a double hitting weapon, except this is the stab variant, whereas the Sulfur Blades are the slash ones, and the Glacial Tecpatl are the crush ones. The Earthen Naguas are in the Tonali Cavern, which is, I think this is where you go to fight the Doom boss, and there's another entrance over here. And that's really all the main content added to Varlamore. There's lots of hidden lore, vibrant scenery, charming details, lots of puns and whatnot, I'm sure, with the examine text and quest dialogues and whatnot. And once I get through the rest of this news post, I do want to do a little bit of exploring and see the animals and see like other new things that were added that could be useful or unlock new methods. But first, let's go over the other changes section, which is unrelated to Varlamore. The first thing is that Custodia Slayer assignments now boost the Mossy Key drop rate only within the wilderness. What I heard was happening was that if you got a Moss Giant task from Custodia, you could fight Moss Giants or maybe Bryophyta not in the wildy, but still get the boosted drop rate for the keys, so that has been fixed. For those of you that collect your daily battle stabs from Zaf, you no longer have to log out to trigger the daily reset. And the last thing I want to point out from the other changes section is that the Armadillian guards from Elite Clues, you can no longer use melee on them, except halberds. One of the changes from the recent summer sweep up is that you can now use halberds against flying creatures, which includes aviancies. But I guess for whatever reason, when they added that update into the game, specifically the Armadillian Guard from Elite Clue Steps, you were able to use any melee weapon on them, so you could like declaw spec and then use your normal melee weapon, not just halberds. But yeah, they did fix that with this week's game update. After the other changes, we have champagne problems. There's a very good problem to have, which is that there's been a recent surge in players, I think mostly due to all the WoW players coming over to OSRS and bringing some pretty large audiences with them, which is bringing a lot of new people into the game, and probably also people that maybe take extended breaks from the game and come back every year or every 6 months. There's a ton of people playing the game at once, and that has caused multiple issues. One of the issues is that a lot of worlds have 1,000+ people nowadays. I mean, we hit over 200,000 players without a seasonal event going on, which is crazy. So they've added some more worlds, 4 East Coast worlds, 4 West Coast, and 2 UK worlds. It actually wasn't today that they added these, it was a couple days ago. It was July 21st they added these worlds, although it was only 4, 3, and 2. So I guess since then they've added one more additional West Coast world to help with all the traffic. Having 1,000+ people on worlds is a problem for players for 2 reasons. The first reason is because resource competition, finding spots for, well, resources or slayer monsters or bosses. And the other problem is when you have 1,000+ people on the world, that world gets pretty laggy, which is annoying for everyone, really. I mean, if you're doing tick perfect types of activities like raids or PVM or tick perfect skilling stuff, of course it's gonna be annoying for those players. But even just for bank standing skilling, it's annoying when you click on the bank and it takes an extra tick to open. Then you click on your inventory to deposit your items into the bank, it takes an extra tick. Then you click to withdraw items from the bank and it takes an extra tick for the items to come out. Then you try to do the action of creating the item and it takes an extra tick. Honestly, I think we need more worlds than that, but maybe they're just like adding them slowly to test the waters and see if the whole surge of players, if they actually stick around long term or what. I love this website, Misplaced Items. It shows, let me get rid of the totals. So you can see the blue line is OSRS, the yellow line is RS3, going by weekly data. This is the average online player count of both the games. So you can see there's like obvious short-term spikes when we have seasonal events. But as you can see lately, there's been quite the surge in players, probably due to all the WoW players joining the game, along with all the advertising Jagex has done. And probably just the addictive nature of the game in general. I might even make a whole separate video talking about this graph because this spike recently has been very interesting and I have a lot to say about it. But yeah, the average online player count is approaching all-time highs, and even the peak player count is trying to get there. It might be hard to beat a seasonal event, but You never know, we'll see what happens. There was another problem that happened a few days ago. There were so many players online, I guess the infrastructure couldn't really handle it, that people are having like micro rollbacks where when they would log off, their like specific players would have their accounts like rolled back a few minutes or something, which Jagex did hotfix pretty quickly. But that was going on for like an hour a few days ago. It was kind of ironic because a lot of the WoW players were playing OSRS and liked it specifically because OSRS doesn't reset your progress. And then this happens like right after they all start playing, so it's kind of funny timing. But now for real, your save files should actually be saved. We have some Varlamore merch in the merch store. There's going to be a AMA with Mod Ash on Reddit. Also, RuneFest Medley Deluxe will be dropping tomorrow on all major digital music platforms that you can access here if you want to. There's a beautiful rendition of Mod Ash and Cole Roland playing together. We're going to be doing a Q&A live stream on July 24th tomorrow. There's going to be an in-game merch, competition, postcard from Varlamore, and okay, cool. That is it for the news post. Let's jump in the game and have some fun exploring around. The first thing I want to find is all the farming patches that were added with Varlamore Part 3. Is there a farming patch option on here? Yeah, right here. So I can click on that and we can see all the farm patches. So right here we have a new fruit tree patch, a new flower patch, and the second Calquat patch in the game. There's now 2 Calquat patches. And if we click it again and go a little bit further north, there's 2 more patches by Vale. There is a tree patch, that means a wood tree, and there is a Belladonna patch. And that is the second Belladonna patch in the game. Belladonnas, they're a decent chance for the farming pet, and they're also useful for skiller accounts to make poison dynamite. And the time tracking plugin does already reflect the new patch. As you can see, there's the Vale patch, another one for Custodia. There are no new herb patches added with Varlamore Part 3 though. Just looking around the shops, there is a dye shop here. There are dyes to die for. There's a rune shop. This is where I am, by the way. Tecpatl. There's an empty dock over here. I guess this dock is gonna be able to take you to Tempestus, which is this area, which I don't believe is accessible at the moment. Well, no, like there's no way there is because there's nothing there. There's no banks or symbols or anything, so this seems to be inaccessible, but I'm sure they'll add some expansion in the future to allow us to access Tempestus. Going back up here to Vale, I did notice something that is very useful, which is that there is a sawmill very close to a bank. I think what people would use before for making planks like this, the sawmill, was the Ring of the Elements to teleport you by the Earth Altar. And it's a very short run to the sawmill, and use a Sears Village teleport or Crafting Cape to teleport to a bank. Of course, there's the classic Butler method in the POH, and then in the Woodcutting Guild, there's also a sawmill. So what people might have done here is like chop oak trees, make them into planks at the sawmill, and then bank them. Very similar idea in Prif as well. There is a sawmill right next to teak trees and mahogany trees, so you could chop the teaks, make them into planks, bank, and come back, or use the plank sack to make 2 inventories at once. But now there's another option, no teleporting involved. You just run straight back and forth to the bank with very minimal requirements to even get here in the first place. What is this? Admire beautiful stump. Let's do it. What a lovely stump. Can you do it from really far away, or does it make you go up to it? Oh, it does run you up to it. Oh, after not too long, it makes you stand up, and it says, as you admire the scenery with the Ent, you feel the energy of the forest flow through you, leaving you refreshed. So if you ever drive for an item, come here to the beautiful stump, and I'm sure it'll reset your drop rate or something. Look at the doggy, there's another Molossus. There's been multiple Molossus in the other parts of Varlamore, but now we have another one. Hello, squirrel. Oh, I can't believe there's a squirrel here. That's nuts. Okay, what else do we have in the area just south of Vale? There's a place called Nemus Retreat. Nice little retreat from Vale. That's where the tree patch is. And to get to the tree patch, you'd probably want to use the Pendant of 8s to get there. Or if you use Fairy Ring code AIS, there's a couple shortcuts here. The river shortcut is 36 agility, then the broken wall is 24 agility. And even outside of new things, there's just resource spots for old things in the game. Like there's tons of hunter spots in the area, lots of places to mine, so many different types of trees you can chop. And let's explore the rainforest now. Let's look at all the animals. Capybaras were already introduced with Varlamore, but there's more of them. They're so cute, but you cannot pet the wild animals unless you go to the plugin hub and install the plugin called Pet the Capybara. Oh, your character says it. It makes your character say a thing, and then you may pet the capybaras. Okay, it's... Plugin keys a little bit more work, I feel like. And there's the hippos that I pointed out before. They're so cute. Oh, there's one in the water. And then there's a baby one, right? Or some baby ones. Oh, there it is. Look. The pygmy hippo calf. Aw, so cute. There's a broken rowboat. Maybe we'll be able to fix it someday. Although it's kind of dangerous waters. I don't know if you'd want to sail around here anyways. I have the flying squirrel. Toucan. There's some flies. Don't want to get too close to those. Some more toucans, harpy eagles. I've seen a few different colors of these skinks. Oh, what is this squirrel monkey? That's sick. Where's the spider monkeys at though? I need a new gym partner. Just kidding, I like my GIM partner. There's black jaguars over here, and the way that they move, they did such a good job making the way that they move, because it really looks like they're stalking a prey with, wait, I think catch up to me. The way they move is so good. These were added with Varlamore Part 1, although I don't remember seeing them or paying attention to them before. Got some ocelots here. There's an ocelot kitten. Oh, this is a really cool plant, the pitcher plant. And then there's tapirs. Yeah, there's quite a few animals that I've never heard of before that I just had to Google. And there's some green skinks. Are they different size? Yeah, that looks like they're different sizes. Bro's like, hey, what'd you just call me? There's some, oh, I didn't mean to catch that. There's some kaiks. I love birds. And some more birds. This time we got macaws. There's more cappies, some cappies in the water. Red chin hunting spot. I'm between this rainforest area and Auburn Vale. This is, I think, really the last area I haven't quite explored yet. And there's just a random building with nothing interesting. I almost missed these, but there are some crows as well. Alright, I think I've found the majority of the animals at this point, and I feel like I've explored enough to at least get a general idea of where everything is and not be lost. I'm curious though, are there any other new skilling methods that you found within Varlamore Part 3 that wasn't part of the major content headlines, like the sawmill, for example? Is there anything else similar, like new methods? Let me know in the comments. If you're coming back to OSRS after a long break, I do have a whole playlist of these videos where I go over the game updates. So if you need something to listen to while you grind to help you get back into the game, the playlist will be linked below in the description. I really hope the video helped you out in some way or another. And with all of that said, good luck and have fun with whatever adventures you get up to in Varlamore Part 3, The Final Dawn.